Please be seated. At this time, we're going to jump immediately into our congregational meeting. I invite Jason Lodel, who will be standing in for Kevin Milkey at this time. And we're going to give Jason the mic and the clicker.
And thanks for sticking around for our meeting. That we'll be looking at a few different things, one of which is board members or potential board members that we'll be voting on in 2 weeks. So to give you that information, as well as things we've done in the recent past or upcoming future. Kevin couldn't be here with us today, and I'll be standing in for a couple other gentlemen as well, so bear with me as you see me up here a little bit. And as always, that it's not just us, the board, making these decisions or doing these things. It's hopefully all of you guys that we value your input, your thoughts, your ideas, things like that. So at any point, if you have any questions throughout today, please do ask. If you'd rather wait till afterwards and find one of us or pastor or anything like that, by all means, we value that input that you guys have and anything that you'd like to share with us. Agenda for this morning. And I'll start out with outreach. It's in the bulletin next week here at the church, starting at 2 o'clock, that there will be a presentation, a thing, for lack of a better term. It's the group that's done other things here before. And it deals with the Reformation era, that they'll be doing some period-specific things. There's some food available to purchase ahead of time or the day of. And these guys are really into the stuff that they do, and they're here at the church and kind of their way of giving back to us and saying thank you. Pastor was saying this morning that there's going to be other Lutheran churches that will be here, so a great way for these guys to showcase their arts and skills and knowledge, and a great way for us to showcase our facilities that we have here. Christmas for Kids is coming up. There's a sign-up sheet in the back there, and Jenny's going to be spearheading that and has some great ideas for that. So there's ways that you can be involved as far as if you're here that day or some things for that will be Sunday, December 2nd, 10:30 to noon. And, of course, anyone that you know, a younger kid that would be interested in that, invite them to come here and share God's Word with them. Sunday School Christmas program is coming up too in the near future, so look for that. As always, we'll have that Sunday morning program where the kids will showcase their songs and recitations and stuff like that and kind of lead the service that morning. Christmas Eve coming up, and we do have all the dates of these coming up here in the PowerPoint, so you'll get the actual date on some of these if they're not listed up there. Another tradition that we do this time of year, and it's finally starting to get a little bit colder, that we'll have the It's Not Cold, It's Chilly cook-off. That'll be coming up, and a way to recognize new members as well during that meal after service one Sunday in January, I believe. Moms and Tots is continuing on, and great experience for younger kids. I'm hearing good things about that will pick up again this winter and hopefully continue to grow and spread God's word to the younger people and the moms that bring them too in the area. I'll leave this up for a second for you guys to soak this in, and of course as these dates get closer, some of these that they'll be in the bulletin too, but give you a snapshot look at them now. Okay, as far as the adult discipleship goes, that the ladies are still meeting, and they have a book that they're going through, a newer book, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. I think the batteries are down on your clicker here. The men's lunch is coming up November 15th, 11:30, and do we have... All right, so mark your calendar for that, November 15th. We have Moms and Tots, that's been going on, some pictures from that they traveled over next door to do some activities there at South Fork there. And last week, the youth group got together before Trunk or Treat, and they carved some pumpkins. I told them that they were playing for second place, that we had a contest, and I won, but felt pretty good about myself after beating some kids. It's the little victories. But they had a great time. Not only did they carve pumpkins, they were instrumental in setting up. They ran a couple different stations outside, different trunks, and then helped clean up. So they did a great job with that, and hopefully enjoyed playing for second place in the pumpkin carving contest as well. All in all, it was a great time that we had, somewhere in the range of 60-some families, and an opportunity to witness and share with them and the kids that they brought along with them, and some families that we see on a regular basis, not just at Trunk or Treat year to year, but Christmas for Kids, and an opportunity to spread that message as well. So a great outreach tool for our congregation. And Ed, get to take a break here.
We were trying to find a better picture sometimes of church cleaning and whatnot, and I think that kind of sums it up. This is something that Pastor found too. It's always a collective effort for cleaning, so it's not just one person. So you can see in this picture plenty of brooms here. We were successful in our church workday that we had, and that was prior to Trunk or Treat. So we were, part of our task, spread pine needles. We did cleaning inside and out of the church to prepare our church property as much as we can. I think it turned out to be very successful ahead of time. We supported the Trunk or Treat with some additional lights Pastor shared with everybody too, and I think that just enhanced our church property. Coming up, we will also be working kind of behind the scenes to keep our church looking nice for the Christmas season. So as Pastor and the group has said, the fencing club, which is the group that will be here next weekend, they do try to reenact what it would be like for the Middle Ages. So there's going to be fires, and sometimes they have fencing exhibitions, sword play. There is a lot of interesting stuff that they try to do, bow and arrow, if they don't shoot too far through the woods. But it is kind of an interesting, fun thing. Period clothing. As Jason said, these folks really take this serious, and they do utilize our church. They have a lot of different functions, so just to pitch that a little bit, they do try to find a way to pay back for using the church facility, so that's one way in support. We still have, looking forward, some larger grandiose projects. If you can tell, for our church facility, there are certain things that are really starting to get worn out. If everybody will look, you can see our church pews are starting to dry rot. So that'll be another project on our list to try to figure out the best way to repair those or replace. We always have church property things such as paving. These are long-term things for maintenance for the church, painting. So the church has plenty of things to work on. So anyhow, if you're interested and you would like to help, come find me.
We have some numbers here to share with you guys. You can see kind of a somewhat consistent trend. And then, of course, the online viewership, that those numbers have been up. And, that's just computers on. It could be exponential how many people are sitting in front of that, too. But that is always an option, that whether you're here or away, that you can still worship, can still see the service on demand anytime. It doesn't have to be Sunday morning. It can be later on during the week if you can't make it. Some more numbers to share, too. And Pastor said that this was fairly up to date, that he had gone through and added people as they came and removed those that have moved away or whatnot. So fairly accurate representation of where we stand right now. And Howard.
Jason, while I was going up, I had a question on the slide with the online. Does the number of the 51 does not include the 12 household average?
It does not, no.
Okay.
Oh, word wrap, folks. I'm sorry. Here's the proposed budget for 2018. You'll see the figures for this year's budget. The current year's actualized through September. We're projecting the last quarter. And then a slight optimism of 118,000 for income. We've been blessed with good offerings this year. So looking forward, just a slight, projected slight increase for 2018. The budget broken down into the main categories is, you can see the differences there. We might actually budget less than we spent this year, but in most cases we're a little bit above the last year's budget. I guess ministry and operations statistics there a little bit lower. You can see our biggest expenses, facilities and payroll. That's not surprising. That's usually how it is every year. And I do have, I think, 10 reports of more detailed itemized lines printed out that I'll put out in the back. So if you're interested in more of a drill down of what these figures are. But the total for expenses for next year, we're looking at $117,025. That's really bad, isn't it? I'm sorry. No, it's just too close to the margins. That's what it is. I'll try to do the math for you. The budget for last year was projected to run a deficit of 332, and as we talked about in the prior meetings, I think we did really well in expenses this year so far. So we an actualized surplus of about 10 grand. Now you'd say, well, we need to put that money to work, and you're right, but our balances were pretty low at the beginning of this year. So it's good that we have that, but you'll see there the 18 figure for the net is $1,000 surplus, so we are putting more into the expenses. The one thing I would say it's kind of tricky is the CEF loan. Tom did a great job with getting a real low rate when we refied a couple years back, and we have to reapply for that every year. We don't know if that's going to be available in 2018 at this time. So the interest expense was one that we put a lot of fluff in to cover if we have to pay a couple of % more in interest. Oh, sorry. So having said that, any questions on the budget at all? Or you can take one of the reports and look it over. If you have any questions, just let Pastor or I know. Sure, go ahead. Which ones? That is what was on the budget. That is what we paid. That's all I can tell you. The board could bring that back up and look at it, but those are the figures that I had. So. Oh, okay. 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 Any other questions or? Sorry, I skipped ahead there.
And I believe our final slide of the day, in 2 weeks we will vote, and a couple of things about this slide. Obviously you can see some vacancies, so if there's still, there still is time if you are interested in serving. It's not a huge time commitment that we meet once a month. Generally, there are some months that we take off, when things are slower. Generally, we meet before church, and so as far as the time commitment, it's not that big of a deal. And talent-wise, we can give you some on-the-job training that, we can steer you in the right direction, that if that's what's holding you back, if you're afraid, you're not sure what you do or how to do it, there's a learning curve there, and we can help you out with that. The other thing to note there, the people that have asterisks behind their name, that they are currently serving. Constitutionally, they are supposed to come off. However, obviously there's some spots there that you don't want to leave vacant, and all three of the people with asterisks by their names have agreed to continue to serve if need be, if there's not someone else that would rather take that spot as need be. So these names, and we'll try to add a couple more to it in a couple of weeks, and Pastor, I guess as we fill some of those, he can send emails out, so watch for those, and then when we reconvene here in a few weeks, we'll vote on that.
Just to note, even if we enter 2018 and it looks like this, we'll still do the work. Like Tom said, he would pitch into any adult discipleship duties. I've never not had ushers. The communion wears magically appear every Sunday morning we have communion. I mean, this congregation does push together and do an incredible job for the ministry that our Lord gives us, but we're not exactly sure what the word ministry is for.
And so that is it. If there are any questions or comments, as I said, please do share or ask, or find us after church, or email, call, anything like that. But I thank you guys for sticking around and giving us your time this morning.